What's up, everybody? Welcome to chapter 13. We are going to go over chapters 22 through 29 and talk about your final abstract that is due on the 14th. If you haven't gotten any feedback on your initial draft or your second draft of your abstract, please email me directly and let me know. And also, if you haven't submitted those or if you haven't gotten any, if you haven't gotten a grade for any of the abstracts, then you're going to want to get that done before it's due on the 14th. So please email me if you haven't gotten a grade or if you haven't submitted. So for week 13, like I said, we're going to go over chapters 22 through 29. I know we had some issues with the last video, and hopefully we don't have any issues with this video. If there is an issue with this video, I might just make a podcast or I might just make an email. But basically, just make sure that you're looking at the information in the 22 through 29 chapters of the PowerPoints that are online. Okay, so basically, these quizzes are really just to give you an overall background of what adaptive physical education is. I know that many of you might not be going into that field per se, but you will be exposed to this population if you're going to be in the health and fitness field sooner or later. So it's important to keep up with the programs, the physical activities, the sports, the inclusion that happens in your communities. So if you want to volunteer, if you want to interact, if you want to if somebody asks you, what could I do with somebody with autism spectrum disorder, they really like to play basketball, is there an opportunity for them, and maybe you can help them out with Special Olympics. So it's really just to give you an awareness of what there is out there, because if you don't know, you'll never kind of understand what it means to be a part of these. And so if you went to Special Olympics last week, you would have seen, obviously they get real competitive. The students love being a part of group settings, and they love being cheered for. They love cheering for their peers. So, that's important in our eyes because, there isn't a lot of opportunities for them. And so hopefully you can understand that as well. Alright, so we're going to look at chapters 22 through 29, but first we're going to be getting our third quiz this week. Hopefully you've read over the categorical YouTube presentation, and I do have examples. Abstract research paper that will be due on the 14th, the full paper. Your final reflection, I'm going to go over that in next week's lecture. And then your off-campus field experience. So a lot of people have been asking me, how many reflections am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do for that? So we're going to go over that right now. So if you look at the talking points for the reflection, I want you to. All right, I got you back. Sorry, I'm having a little difficulty trying to get this going. But we have 11 things that I want you to write about for each reflection. So for each experience. So every time you go to experience, let's just say you have 10 hours. You break those up into 2 hour segments. So if you're going to another lab, that's 2 hours. If you're going to I Can Do It, that's 2 hours. If you're going to Miracle-Ly, you can make that 3 to 5 hours. If you've done Special Olympics, that can be 2 to 5 hours. So each experience that you go to, I want you to look at these 11 bullets here. So describe the kind of program you're working in. What is the purpose of the program? What are your duties and responsibilities? So if they're the same, if it's the same program, it's the same purpose, but maybe different duties or different responsibilities, then describe that for each reflection. If you're going to copy and paste the same, describe the kind of program and what is the purpose of the program. Well, let's just say you go and you describe the program that you're working in, then you also describe the purpose, but then you go the next week and then somebody tells you a little bit more information about that program, or someone tells you the purpose of that program in a different way. So there could be differences in each of these questions here. So what are your duties and responsibilities? So maybe you had a responsibility of maybe working with someone with a disability, or maybe you were helping me out, whatever those were, and how did that change? And who is the program for? The age range, what the leisure needs of the individuals. Describe the educational or therapeutic activities you observe. So just, what did you see? Like what type of progressions, what type of learning activities, what type of therapeutic activities. Describe the environment of the program. Is there anything noteworthy about the physical setting? Was it, in a gym setting? Was it outdoors? Was it sunny out? What materials and or special equipment are the individuals using? What types of equipment they're using? Is it specialized? Is it adaptable? What kind of communication interactions are in evidence? Are evident? I don't know. I'm not sure what that means. What kinds of communicative interactions are in evidence? That doesn't sound right. Might have to take that one out. But basically, what is evident? I'm not sure why it says evidence, but no communication between teachers, staff, and students. Do you feel that communication was being encouraged? So now, what is the communication going on? Who's socially interacting with who? What sort of educational intervention or treatment approaches are used by the staff? So are they doing anything in particular to educate the individual? Are they doing anything to treat the individual? Are the individuals appropriately placed in this program? If so, why? If not, how might they be better served? So do they belong in this program? And then briefly comment on the extent to which activities were observed to be functional, chronologically age appropriate, and conducted in a natural setting. So basically talking about, was it functional activity? Was it not functional? I mean, were they doing things inappropriate? Was it age appropriate? Were they included? And then summarize your reactions to the observation and practicum. Do you feel it is an effective program? Did you observe activities you regard as especially appropriate, exciting, innovative, dull, disorganized, unethical, etc.? So now I want you at number 10 to really summarize everything and then include any pertinent observations or information not covered. So 10 is probably the biggest point I want you to really explore, and then all the other ones you can kind of just give me a brief description of. Hello? All right. And also just remember to have your schedule, the sign-off sheet, get that filled in, and also turn that in with your reflections. For your research abstract that is due on the 14th, here is the overview of that. It's under Research Abstract Assignment, under the tab for it. So you should have an introduction, a review of literature, conclusions/recommendations, and then references. So in that order, looking at the rubric, you've seen the rubric here. Here are all the points that we're looking at as far as the literature review goes. So if I gave you, the go, if I said you're on the right track, then you're probably doing the right thing. Just keep it going. And then as far as the results in the discussion, or the conclusions and recommendations, this is where you're going to give, your conclusions, your recommendations. They should be defensible on the basis of the references that you've abstracted in the review sections of your paper. So basically, using the literature to support your recommendations or conclusions. And this is the most important section of the paper and should be evidence of considerability, synthesis, and thinking on your part. So really looking for a clear and concise recommendation and conclusion. Okay. Alright, so we're going to talk in this lecture about health-related physical fitness and physical activity. So health, physical fitness, and physical activity are all related. Each can influence and be influenced by the others. So this is a good slide right here showing kind of the patterns of how to become physically active, what health is, and what health-related fitness is. So health-related fitness, we'll start there, aerobic, body, and musculoskeletal systems. Health is physiological health and functional health. So health is actually how your body is running. Is it running efficiently? Are your hormones working right? Do you feel good? Are you in pain? So being able to do day-to-day things. Health-related related physical fitness, aerobic functioning, body composition, musculoskeletal functioning. Those are all really important too, and then that all directly relates to physical activity by way of either exercise, sport, training, dance, and play, and then keeping that frequency, intensity, duration is like super important, because if you're not getting your intensity up, you're not going to get your heart rate up, you're really not going to make a physiological impact. So what is the definition of physical activity? Is defined as any bodily movement produced by skeletal muscle resulting in a substantial increase in resting energy expenditure. Categories include exercise, sport, training, play, dance, work, and domestic chores. Pattern of physical activity are arranged by changing frequency, intensity, and time. So the FIT principle, if you've ever heard of that before. Now, health is a little bit different. So health is a human condition with physical, social, and psychological dimensions, each characterized on a continuum with positive and negative poles. Positive health is associated with the capacity to enjoy life and withstand challenges, and positive health is not merely the absence of diseases. There is negative health associated with morbidity and, in the extreme, premature mortality. Categories include physiological health, the organic well-being of the person, and functional health, the capability of the person to perform important daily activities. So physical fitness, this is defined as the ability to carry out tasks with vigor and alertness without undue fatigue and with ample energy to enjoy leisure time pursuits and to meet unforeseen emergencies. Categories include skill-related fitness and health-related fitness, and components of skill-related fitness include power, speed, agility, balance, coordination, and reaction time. So we look at power, that would be something like jumping. Speed, that would be something like sprinting. Agility would be something as zigzag run, or side to side stepping, or using an agility ladder, or hopping. Balance, that would be balancing on one foot. That would be being able to catch and land with balance. Coordination, that's being able to time, and then coordination, being able to time your sequence of movement. So being able to skip, being able to gallop, being able to sidestep. And then reaction time, how your body reacts, say to a ball flying at your face. Physical fitness, so health-related fitness refers to those components of fitness that are affected by habitual physical activity and relate to health status. Health-related fitness is defined as a state characterized by an inability to perform and sustain daily activities and demonstration of traits or capacities associated with low-risk premature development of diseases and conditions related to movement. Health-related physical fitness is, so the components of health-related fitness include aerobic functioning, include aerobic capacity and aerobic behavior. How far what is your VO2 max? Are you able to walk a distance of a mile? Are you able to jog a distance of a mile? Body composition, so what are you made of? How much fat? How much muscle? How much bone? How much water is in the body? And then musculoskeletal functioning. So this can include muscular strength, muscular endurance, and flexibility. I would also include mobility in there. How you're able to actually move, how you're able to get full range of motion. Physical fitness and health, so acceptable levels of aerobic capacity are associated with a reduced risk in adults of hypertension, coronary heart disease, obesity, diabetes, and some forms of cancer, and other health problems. Obesity has been associated with diabetes, coronary heart disease, high blood pressure, arthritis, and some forms of cancer. It is important to note that individuals with disabilities are more likely to be obese than individuals without disabilities. And that is due to many, lack of programs, and we have lots of programs, but sometimes if you have a musculoskeletal issue, there might not be a program for someone that has those issues. And so if you don't have the capacity, you might have to go through mobility or flexibility training before you even get to that level. Obesity has also been linked to higher rates of all-cause mortality and to increased risk factors for health, disease, in children. Logical relations exist between musculoskeletal functioning and health, and certain levels of strength, endurance, and flexibility are necessary to perform important activities of daily living. Physical fitness and health continued. With few exceptions, research that has compared the fitness performance of people with and without disabilities has found that the fitness levels of people with disabilities generally is below that of their peers without disabilities. This suggests that people with disabilities have greater fitness-related health risks, and so that's why there's such a need for this field. Okay. Physical activity and health-related physical fitness. People with and without disabilities can improve their fitness through physical activity. An important first step is to personalize fitness by asking the first question, fitness for what purpose? So why are we doing this? And then consider which components to target, which tests and standards will you use to monitor. So patterns of physical activity. So the FIT principle, frequency, intensity, and time of various types of activity can be manipulated to yield gains in physical fitness. So frequency, how often, intensity, how hard, and then time, how long. Aerobic functioning. So adolescents need 3 to 5 days per week at 64 to 93% of maximal heart rate for 20 to 60 minutes per day. And children need less intensity but more frequency and time. Aerobic functioning, so adjustments for youngsters with disabilities. So frequency, no change unless disability can be exacerbated by regular activity. So always looking for them to be independent. Intensity reduces a function of fitness level and adjust target heart rate zone for arms only activity and for quadriplegia. So if somebody is utilizing a wheelchair, you're going to have to adjust the target heart rate zone. It's going to be harder to get their heart rate up. Time, and then accumulate more intermittent activity or reduce total time if necessary. Physical activity recommendations for body composition. Weight loss goals generally can be achieved by following aerobic functioning guidelines. When weight loss is higher priority than aerobic functioning, the recommendation is 60 minutes per day of moderate activity conducted 5 to 7 days per week. Expending 1,000 calories per week is another goal option. You know, that's something, 1,000 calories per week, it's a good goal. You know, I burn 1,000 calories in a day, and I think it's really important for people to burn calories, so I might even look at increasing that type of goal for different individuals. And it usually depends on your weight too, so if you're a little bit lighter weight, you're not going to be burning as many calories. So physical activity recommendations for body composition. So adjustments for youngsters with disabilities are similar to those adjustments made for aerobic functioning. Obesity is often probably a problem for people with disabilities, largely caused by inactivity. So we know that most people, regardless of their disability or not, are pretty inactive. And so individuals with disabilities tend to be a little bit more obese and inactive, especially individuals with autism spectrum disorder. Activity programs might need to be coordinated with the home to achieve frequency and time guidelines and to monitor diet. So this is one of the things I've really experienced as an educator, is trying to connect home to school and figuring out what they're eating at the house and figuring out what their parents are doing with them, whether they're walking or not. And I think it's important for the teacher, or the fitness personal trainer, physical therapist, doctor, you got to know what's going on at home. You have to monitor diets because they need a lot of help and they might not understand what obesity is, and so you kind of have to help them a little bit as well. Do at least one set of 8 to 10 exercises at least twice per week, with at least 1 day of rest between sessions. So this is kind of a recommendation. Do 8 to 12 reps per set for strength, 15 to 25 for endurance, and intensity is a function of the amount of resistance that is overcome with the reps or expression through RPE. Okay. So physical activity recommended. Generally, few adjustments are necessary for young people with disabilities. However, amount of resistance intensity often will be lower. Some might benefit from a reduction in the number of exercises, and always have them consult a physician or their parents consult a physician before the program occurs. As far as flexibility and range of motion, at least 3 exercise sessions should be done each week. Each stretch should be held for 15 to 60 seconds and repeated 3 to 5 times per session. We know that you need to hold at least, I think, 60 seconds to get any physiological impact. And then I think you need to do some other types of stretches, but this is a pretty good recommendation here. Intensity is a function of perceived mild discomfort during the stretch, and stretching generally is more effective after the muscle tissue is warm. As far as range of motion, when making adjustments for youngsters with disabilities, passive and active assisted stretching might be used to complement active stretching. So active stretching is really important, like a knee pull or a foot pull, or you're kind of bringing your knee up to your chest and squeezing it, and then you're doing the other side. Increased frequency up to 2 to 3 times daily, and duration stretches that can be 10 minutes or more might be necessary for those with physical disabilities, including CP or cerebral palsy, because they tend to be a little bit tighter, right, grasping a lot of the times. Regular activity can reduce the risk of premature mortality and the risk of acquiring coronary heart disease, hypertension, colon cancer, and diabetes. And the health benefits occur for children, adolescents, and people with disabilities. The Health and Human Services recommendation for children and adolescents calls for at least 60 minutes of physical activity daily, and most of that activity should be at the moderate to vigorous level. Some should be vigorous and include aerobic and muscle and bone strengthening activities. So people with disabilities, moderate levels of physical activity can improve acceptance of disability, provide a more independent attitude, reduce suicidal tendencies, improve self-esteem, decrease development of secondary conditions, and increase functional independence. However, adults with disabilities generally are less active than adults without disabilities. So barriers for physical activity for people with disabilities include intrinsic barriers, motivation and interests, resource barriers, expenses, transportation, and architectural structure barriers, access to facilities, and knowledgeable instructors. So this is super important here. Adaptive physical education goals. Option 1, strive to attain guidelines for improving health-related fitness. Functional independence may be at stake. Strive to attain the Health and Human Services guidelines for physical activity. May be more easily attained by some students and may be more easily measured by teachers. Sometimes their teachers are able to let you know kind of exactly where they're at more than if you're the adaptive physical education teacher, or if you're just the personal trainer. So this chapter 23, I know we didn't go over it yet, and we skipped some chapters and going back to chapter 23, but this is probably the most beneficial PowerPoint, I think, because it gives you the recommendations for physical activity and health. It tells you it talks about the frequency, intensity, and time, and it also goes over this chart up here, which I really like, and it tells you, if you're really trying to see what is related among physical activity, health, and health-related fitness. All of these, health, physical activity, health-related physical fitness, they're all intertwined, but they all mean something a little bit different. So physical activity is, the actual work, right? And health-related fitness is, your body composition, the way you move, and then your health, your functional health. Do you have cancer? Do you not have cancer? Physiological health. Are you stressed all the time? Are you not stressed all the time? So they all mean a little bit something different. So this is just a reminder, if you're still listening or if you didn't read the email, that the quiz is going to encompass chapters 26, chapters 27, chapters 23, and chapters 24 for quiz 3. So chapters 28 and chapters 29, those will be on the final, and I'll create a final video for the final exam. But these 4 chapters right here, I know I said 23 through 29. It's actually going to be 23, 24, 26, and 27. Remember, chapter 25 was earlier modules. So all I want you to know for the quiz are these 4 chapters: rhythmic, movement, and dance. So as you know, we do a lot of dance with individuals with disabilities. I think it's important to have creative dance education, structured dance education, and rhythmic movement. Rhythmic movement is a recurring pattern, contracting and expanding actions connected and repeated to create a rhythm. An example, Elson arms are swinging to her own rhythmic beat. Now, a recurring pattern is important, and a lot of times when people teach dance, they don't do that, and it's hard for individuals to learn if it's not a reoccurring pattern. So when you watch me dance, and when I teach dance, I tend to have a reoccurring pattern so that they're familiar, and I try to simplify it for at least 30 seconds. As far as creative educational dance, or CED, this is a fun movement program focusing on exploration of space, time, force, and the body, and uses movement problems assignments to create dances. Okay. So structured pattern dances composed of specific steps performed in a variety of formations. Types of structured dances include folk dances, line dances, and social dances. Rhythmic movements, they began with awareness of internal rhythms and then match with external rhythms. So, how you feel and then how you're going to act. And asking students to match breathing patterns or simple arm movements with external rhythms such as drum beats. Create a rhythm, lift and lower one arm, repeat as one movement, repeat and add breathing, and repeat. Okay, so those are some beginning steps. As far as elements, pulse, tempo, accent, and rhythmic patterns can all be used. As far as poems and raps goes, poems and raps can be fun and can motivate students to move rhythmatically. Select a poem with energy, one that lends itself well to movement, and then match simple movements to certain sounds or words in the poem. Okay? Poems and rhythmic movement, you can use Shel Silverstein, you can use some really funny images, you can have, you can check out Shel Silverstein's books, and he's got a YouTube channel as well that you can check out with some rhythmic movement. So as far as teaching, you want to guide. Hello? Alright. So I am having some difficulties here with the recording, but we're going to see if we're still in the right direction. So you can have problem-solving activities. You can have speaking engagements that are rhythmic, like we talked about. You can do songs, raps, poems. Some of the benefits for preschoolers: music and movement experience play is an important role in rhythmic development, and rhythmic ability fosters motor performance. So that's really important that individuals actually learn how to move through dance. For adolescents, rhythmic ability is linked with reading and attention levels, and rhythmic ability is related to speech and language disorders. So how you move is how you think. As far as the progression, you want to focus on internal before external rhythms. Provide opportunities for listening to the pulse before moving to the pulse. Begin with non-locomotor movements and then locomotor movements, and then begin with simple hand movements before using other body parts. Continue, gradually increase the number of concepts explored simultaneously. Present moving forward with a rounded shape, then moving forward with a rounded shape, and at a low or deep high level. Begin individually, then with partners, and then add group. Now for students with severe disabilities, you want to match students with disabilities with typically developing peers or cross-age tutors. So you always want to partner someone with a severe disability with somebody who can maybe help them out, mentor them, and then also you can try to find someone who doesn't have a disability, like our mentor program here, and use cross-age tutors. Use a progression of steps to actively engage. We talk about progressions in class, always starting with basic things and then going to complex, and I think that's just very general. Provide passive assistance. Focus. So basically, you're not actively, like if you're going to help them move, you don't have to move them, but you can kind of passively help them, as not really just like kind of push them into the positions. Focus attention if possible. Secure eye contact. That's really huge. Securing eye contact or eye gaze, that lets them know that you're communicating with them. Some individuals lack that eye contact. I think it's really important. And then provide opportunities for mirroring active movement. So mirroring is really a good way to teach dance. It's less verbal communication or less verbal instructions, and especially with sound, you might not be able to hear someone talking, so mirroring is important. And then encourage original movements, and that's what we pretty much do when we play play the game. Yeah, freeze dance. You know, we're encouraging original movements where we allow the individual with a disability to lead the class, and then they get to, you know, have original movement. They're doing something, you know, different. They're having all their classmates do something different. So I think that's really important. Now, if you want more information on the CED, the Creative Education Dance, the rest of the slides are on that. And I'm not going to go too much more into that, but it's going to go over if you ever wanted to teach the CED, or if you ever wanted to implement, you know, dance later on, you know, after this class. Let's just say you really did like teaching dance, but you wanted to create more structure to it. This would be the program to kind of initiate if dance was your you know, if dance is your passion and you wanted to work with people with disabilities later on. So that's a wrap for week 13. All I want you to do is make sure that you read over chapters 26, chapters 27, chapters 23, and chapter 24 in the PowerPoint for your next quiz. And if you have any questions as far as the reflections or any of the assignments, just give me just send me an email, and then we'll get into chapters 28 and chapters 29 next week, and that will also kind of get your quiz underway. And then remember that your categorical YouTube presentation is coming up soon. Make sure that you check out the instructions, and please look at the examples from last students. So YouTube, basically, please read the description because it's going to really kind of help you through it. But basically, when you're creating a YouTube video, just put your camera, your phone sideways when you're filming, and then you can upload directly to YouTube. So if you're unable to record your screen like I am, then what you can do is you can just watch these videos and you'll see how some of the students created them. If you have PowerPoint with video, you can do that. You can video yourself. You can video the computer screen, or if you have Camtasia like I do, you can record it now. But as you know, that sometimes it doesn't always work out, and I'm going to understand if you have some issues uploading to YouTube. But I would practice, and since you've already done your autobiographies on YouTube, you do have experience uploading to YouTube. But again, if you have questions, just let me know, and I'll try to help you the best that I can. Okay, so we've gone over a lot of material. Hopefully you've, gotten a lot from these PowerPoints. I know that a lot of it is just information, but generally speaking, now hopefully you can really adapt not only for people with disabilities, but you can help others who have kids with disabilities. You can tell them about maybe the different sports or adventure challenges that are in the last PowerPoints that we went over. But take it in consideration. If you don't have a disability, and what it's like, to not have a disability, or what is it like to have a disability? Are you able to empathize for somebody with a disability? I think that's really important for you to learn, hopefully in the lab component of the course, how important it is to build that social communication relationship with them, how to interact with them, how to adapt for them, and then also, obviously, how to progress the activities, and what activities are going to be beneficial and what activities are not going to be beneficial. So hopefully you've learned a lot from this course, and if you have any questions or comments, just email me and we'll talk to you soon.